Imagine, if you will, a scene both dire and extraordinary. Iranian missiles arcing through the heavens, ominous and unrelenting, only to be halted in their deadly course by a coalition most unexpected. Jets of Jordan and Israel, two nations often perceived as adversaries in the intricately woven tapestry of Middle Eastern politics, now fly in unison, their wings of steel and fire united in purpose. This alliance, unprecedented and bold, challenges the very fabric of the geopolitical landscape as we know it. As we embark on this exploration together, I invite you not to merely gaze at the surface of these current events. We must peel back the layers, delving into the manifold implications that lie hidden beneath. With a scholar's eye, we shall examine the deep wells of biblical prophecy, the echoless halls of history, and the lofty realms of theological discourse. In the words of the psalmist, "The Lord is my rock, my fortress, and my deliverer. My God is my rock, in whom I take refuge." Psalm chapter 18 verse 2. This profound affirmation of faith anchors our inquiry, reminding us that in times of turmoil and uncertainty, we can always seek solace in the divine. Imagine, dear listener, a world spread wide and trembling under heavy clouds of uncertainty. The rumblings of conflict echo across the valleys and plains, whispered talks and distant thunders herald the ominous signs of strife. Such scenes are not merely fragments of our present day but are foretold in the ancient scriptures, carrying a weight of prophecy and meaning. In the Gospel according to Matthew, there lies a verse that resonates with the times we live in. You will hear of wars and rumors of wars. Matthew chapter 24 verses 6 to 7. When our Lord Jesus spoke these words, he was not merely commenting on the nature of human strife but hinting at the intricate tapestry of divine providence and human history. Wars and rumors of wars have always been a part of the mortal existence, a sorrowful song that repeats through the annals of time. Yet, in these words, there is more than mere acknowledgement of conflict. There is an invitation to look deeper, beyond the noise. As we consider the recent events where Iranian missiles were intercepted by a coalition of Jordanian and Israeli jets, we see a modern reflection of these ancient warnings. The tension in the Middle East, a land steeped in biblical history, mirrors the prophetic words. These are not just random acts of warfare but are entwined with a narrative that calls for a profound understanding of our place in history and the divine scheme. The prophecy in Matthew reminds us that wars and conflicts are signs but not the end. Jesus continues, "But see to it that you are not alarmed. Such things must happen, but the end is still to come." It is a call for vigilance without falling prey to despair. The divine narrative unfolds in ways beyond our comprehension, and amidst the chaos, there lies a divine order and purpose. Accompanying this vision of turmoil is another divine pronouncement found in Matthew's Gospel. "Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called children of God." Matthew chapter 5 verse 9. This beatitude, a beacon of hope and moral clarity, stands in stark contrast to the impending doom of wars. It calls each of us to a higher purpose, transcending the cycles of violence and discord. In the face of missile interceptions and military coalitions, the role of the peacemaker becomes ever more crucial and poignant. While the world focuses on power and dominance, the peacemakers quietly heed a different call, one of reconciliation and divine heritage. The promise given by Jesus is not just for eschatological fulfillment but for the here and now. Those who strive for peace, in their hearts and in their deeds, reflect the image of God and embody His children's true calling. The intricate dance between the signs of conflict and the calling of peacemakers shows us the dual path humanity treads. On one side, we witness the fulfillment of prophecies of strife, and on the other, we are reminded of the blessedness of those who seek peace amidst chaos. These ancient texts, still profoundly relevant today, compel us to not only observe but to act in ways that align us with the divine will. Dear listener, as we ponder on these scriptures, let us not merely be passive observers of a world in turmoil. Instead, let us embrace the wisdom that calls us to understand these times through the lens of faith and prophecy, and let us strive to be the blessed peacemakers, children of God in both word and deed. Ladies and gentlemen, let us embark on a journey through the sacred texts, immersing ourselves in the rich tapestry of biblical references to nations and conflicts. It is here, within these ancient words, that we find the threads of prophecy that weave together the past, present, and future of our world's complex geopolitical landscape. Throughout the annals of the Bible, we encounter numerous passages that paint vivid pictures of the rise and fall of nations. One cannot ignore the solemn warnings and stirring prophecies that announce wars, upheavals, and divine judgments. Take, for instance, the foreboding words of Jesus in the Gospel of Matthew, where he speaks of wars and rumors of wars. Matthew chapter 24 verse 6. This phrase echoes through the ages, reminding us of the perpetual state of conflict that seems to be an intrinsic part of human history. The significance of these prophecies goes beyond mere historical context. They serve as a lens through which we can understand modern-day events. The Bible does not merely record past occurrences but also offers glimpses into the divine orchestration of world events, challenging us to find meaning and direction in the chaos that surrounds us. Consider the story of ancient Israel, a nation often at the center of conflict. The biblical narrative recounts the conquests and exiles, the battles and peace treaties that shaped its history. It is within these stories that we see the recurring theme of God's sovereignty over the nations. Kings and empires rise and fall according to His will, each event aligning with the prophetic words spoken through His servants. In the book of Isaiah, we read about the judgment against Babylon, a mighty empire destined to fall. "I will rise up against them," declares the Lord, "and cut off from Babylon name and remnant, offspring and posterity." Isaiah chapter 14 verse 22. This prophecy came to pass, underscoring the Bible's role as a prophetic chronicle that foreshadows the fate of nations based on their actions and relationship with the divine. The book of Daniel further illustrates the intricate connection between divine prophecy and geopolitics. Daniel's visions of colossal statues and fearsome beasts symbolize the succession of world empires, each with its own rise and fall ordained by God. These visions provided ancient Israel with a framework for understanding their place in the world and continue to offer us insight into the ebb and flow of international power dynamics. Yet, the Bible does not only foretell imminent wars and destruction, it also casts visions of hope and peace. The prophecy in Micah speaks of a time when nations will beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks. Micah chapter 4 verse 3. This imagery of transformation from instruments of war to tools of peace challenges us to strive for a world where divine justice and harmony prevail. As we interpret these scriptural passages, it becomes evident that prophecy is not a mere prediction of the future but a divine commentary on the moral and spiritual state of nations. It calls us to reflect on our actions, urging us to align with the principles of justice, mercy, and righteousness that underpin God's kingdom. In modern times, when we witness the unfolding of geopolitical events, whether it's the interception of missiles, forming unusual alliances, or the ever-present tensions between nations, we can draw parallels to these ancient prophecies. Such occurrences prompt us to ponder whether we are witnessing the manifestation of divine plans spoken of millennia ago. To understand the fullness of the Bible's message on nations and conflicts, we must also recognize the ultimate prophetic vision found in the New Testament. The book of Revelation speaks of a future where nations will walk by the light of God's glory, and the kings of the earth will bring their splendor into it. Revelation chapter 21 verse 24. This apocalyptic vision assures us of a time when divine peace will reign supreme, and all nations will acknowledge the sovereignty of God. In conclusion, the biblical overview of nations and conflicts, rich with prophetic insight, offers us a profound understanding of our world's past and present strife. It beckons us to perceive current geopolitical events not merely through the lens of secular analysis but through the divine narrative that has been unfolding since the dawn of time. As we navigate these turbulent waters, let us hold fast to the hope and guidance offered by the Scriptures, mindful that we are part of a grand tapestry woven by the hand of God. Imagine, dear reader, a tapestry woven with threads of time, each strand representing a moment, a decision, a conflict, or an alliance. The Middle East, a region known for its rich history and deep cultural roots, provides such a tapestry, a chronicle of human endeavor and divine narrative intermingled. To understand the current political landscape, we must first journey back through the annals of history. The story of the Middle East is one marked by perpetual change, often driven by the convergence of empires and the ambitions of powerful leaders. For many centuries, this region was the crossroads of civilization, where East meets West. The ancient Egyptians, Babylonians, Persians, Greeks, and Romans all left indelible marks upon this land. Consider, for instance, Alexander the Great, whose conquests stretched from Greece to India, weaving together diverse cultures and ideologies through an intricate blend of diplomacy and brute force. Yet, it was not merely the empires from the West that shaped this region. The Islamic caliphates, with their profound intellectual and cultural advancements, established realms that were as much about the pursuit of knowledge as they were about territorial control. During the Golden Age of Islam, cities like Baghdad became epicenters of learning and culture, attracting scholars from all corners of the known world. But conflict remained a constant companion to progress. The Crusades epitomized this tumultuous relationship, as European knights sought to reclaim the Holy Land from Muslim rule. Battles ebbed and flowed, alliances formed and fractured, leaving behind a legacy of both enmity and inadvertent cultural exchange. As we move closer to modernity, the Ottoman Empire emerges as a dominant force. For centuries, the Ottomans ruled vast swaths of the Middle East, maintaining a delicate balance between diverse ethnic and religious groups within their dominion. Their decline, however, heralded a new era, one marked by colonial ambitions of European powers and the resulting fragmentations and newly drawn borders following World War I. The dissolution of the Ottoman Empire at the war's conclusion saw Britain and France delineating new political boundaries under the Sykes-Picot Agreement of 1916. These arbitrary borders often ignored the complex tapestry of ethnic, tribal, and religious affiliations, sowing seeds of future discord. The creation of modern nation-states like Iraq, Syria, and Lebanon were products of this post-war reordering. A particularly poignant moment in this historical narrative is the establishment of the State of Israel in 1948. This event, driven by the Zionist movement and sanctioned through international political maneuvering and conflict, brought about an enduring and contentious chapter. The ensuing Israeli-Arab wars, particularly in 1948, 1967, and 1973, not only shaped the geopolitical dynamics of the region but also formed the bedrock of many of today's geopolitical tensions. The Cold War era further complicated the Middle Eastern landscape, as the United States and the Soviet Union vied for influence. Nations within the region found themselves choosing sides, which often meant embracing alliances that, under different circumstances, might have seemed improbable. This external meddling exacerbated existing rivalries and created new fault lines. With the fall of the Soviet Union, the geopolitical focus shifted yet again. The Gulf Wars, the rise of militant groups, and the Arab Spring all represent modern chapters of this region's living history, each event rooted in the complex interplay of historical grievances, religious fervor, and the pursuit of autonomy and power. To understand the present, we must recognize that today's alliances and conflicts are not merely modern phenomena but are deeply entwined with the historical fabric of the region. The interconnectedness of past and present serves as a reminder that history is not a distant memory but an ever-present force that continues to shape the world we live in. As we consider the alliance between Jordanian and Israeli jets blocking Iranian missiles, we must see this through the lens of history, understanding that each nation's actions are influenced by centuries of shared and divergent experiences. It is within this context that we begin to grasp the profound complexities of the Middle East, a land where history's whisper is never far from the present clamor. Let us turn our gaze to the annals of history and behold a figure whose legacy intertwines with the very fabric of tactical warfare and divine purpose, King David. King David, the shepherd boy who ascended to kingship, is not merely a paragon of musical and poetic prowess. He is also a master strategist and a resilient warrior. His military strategies have echoed through the corridors of time, finding resonance in the tactics and alliances of the modern era. Picture the young David, standing fearless against Goliath, a colossal embodiment of brute strength and hubris. Armed with nothing but a sling and stones, his victory was far more than a triumph of might. It was a triumph of faith and divine providence. This seemingly simplistic strategy, eschewing conventional arms for the ordained weapon, mirrors the countless moments in history where faith and ingenuity have prevailed over sheer power. David's genius, however, was not limited to singular acts of valor. As king, he orchestrated one of the most formidable and respected military bodies in the ancient world. His tactics were underpinned by an acute understanding of terrain, the element of surprise, and the complex web of alliances. Take, for instance, his alliance with the Hittites and the Philistines. While paradoxical on the surface, these alliances were instrumental in securing his kingdom, illustrating the timeless principle that astute diplomacy can be as potent as the sharpest sword. Furthermore, David's utilization of specialized military units, such as the elite, mighty men, showcases his foresight in creating adaptable and highly skilled forces. These units could be compared to modern special forces, trained for efficiency and precision in high-stakes maneuvers. David's foresight in diversification, adaptability, and the optimal use of his available resources can be seen mirrored in today's complex military engagements. The biblical narrative also tells of David's great strategic acumen in the capture of Jerusalem. The city, seemingly impregnable, was taken through ingenious tactics involving diversion and covert entry through water tunnels. This act of calculated risk and strategic brilliance transformed Jerusalem into the enduring capital of Israel, signifying the profound impact of astute military leadership. To draw a contemporary parallel, consider how modern alliances and military strategies often tread the path pioneered by David. The interception of missiles by a coalition of Jordanian and Israeli jets is reminiscent of a Davidic strategy. It embodies a nuanced understanding of defense and the power of collaboration, akin to David's alliances, which transcends old enmities for a greater cause. In these echoes of David's legacy, we see more than just tactical wisdom. We discern a deeper intertwining of faith, providence, and the enduring quest for peace and security. Just as David fought to establish and secure a nation under divine guidance, modern alliances too strive to navigate the complex matrix of geopolitical strife through prudence, courage, and, perhaps, a touch of the divine. King David, the warrior king, serves as a timeless reminder that the essence of strategic brilliance lies not only in the martial but also in the moral and the spiritual. His life offers profound lessons on how ancient wisdom can illuminate the path through contemporary shadows, guiding us to a future where faith and strategy coexist in harmonious resolve. Picture, if you will, a scene unfolding upon the vast canvas of human history, where the divine hand subtly yet profoundly intervenes in the affairs of nations. This is a scenario not unfamiliar to readers of the sacred texts, where the Almighty's influence is seen as guiding both the fate of individuals and the destiny of empires. Throughout the scriptures, there is an enduring theme: God's sovereignty over worldly affairs. This is explicitly demonstrated in Psalms 46-9-10, where it is declared, "He makes wars cease to the ends of the earth. He breaks the bow and shatters the spear, he burns the shields with fire. Be still, and know that I am God. I will be exalted among the nations, I will be exalted in the earth." Such passages do more than document historical incidents. They unveil the divine orchestration behind human events, reinforcing that history is, indeed, his story. Consider the ancient accounts of King David, a man after God's own heart. His victories in battle were often attributed not to his military prowess alone but to the direct intervention of Jehovah. We read in 2 Samuel chapter 5 verse 24, "As soon as you hear the sound of marching in the tops of the poplar trees, move quickly, because that will mean the Lord has gone out in front of you to strike the Philistine army." Here, the scriptures illustrate that success in battle comes from divine favor and guidance. Similarly, the tale of Gideon in the book of Judges underscores this theological concept. Gideon, with a mere 300 men, triumphed against an overwhelming Midianite force. Judges chapter 7 verse 2 provides a revealing commentary. "The Lord said to Gideon, 'You have too many men. I cannot deliver Midian into their hands, or Israel would boast against me, saying, My own strength has saved me.'" This narrative teaches that victories are orchestrated by God to remind his people that his power, not their own, secures their triumphs. Moving forward to the New Testament era, the theological theme of divine intervention continues. In Acts 12, Peter's miraculous escape from prison is depicted as an act of divine intervention. An angel of the Lord appears to free Peter, illustrating the ongoing belief in a God who intervenes directly in human affairs to achieve his purposes. Furthermore, the broader New Testament context presents the ultimate intervention in world history through the person of Jesus Christ. His life, crucifixion, and resurrection are seen as the epitome of God engaging with humanity. Ephesians chapter 1 verses 20 to 21 speaks of his ascension. He raised Christ from the dead and seated him at his right hand in the heavenly realms, far above all rule and authority, power and dominion, and every name that is invoked. These scriptural passages collectively demonstrate a consistent theological assertion. God's hand is ever present, guiding the course of wars and the fate of nations. The belief that God intervenes in the world is not merely a relic of ancient faith but a cornerstone of theological thought through the ages. In reflecting upon the contemporary geopolitical landscape, the concept of divine intervention invites us to consider whether current events might also bear the imprint of divine orchestration. It challenges believers to discern the signs of God's activity in the world today, encouraging a perspective that looks beyond the immediate and the visible to the transcendent and eternal. Therefore, as we peer into the unfolding drama of nations and conflicts, let us do so with eyes of faith, recognizing that, as the scriptures affirm, the Lord is King forever and ever. Psalm chapter 10 verse 16. This awareness not only shapes our understanding of the past but also informs our hopes and prayers for the future, guiding us to trust in the ultimate sovereignty and goodness of God in all things. We now turn our attention to influential theologians, who like guiding stars, have illuminated the paths of faith and morality through the ages. One of the most notable among these is Saint Augustine, a luminary of the early church whose thoughts on just war theory resonate profoundly with the complexities of today's conflicts. Imagine Augustine, seated in the quietude of his study, the glow of a solitary candle casting dancing shadows on the parchment before him. In his monumental work, City of God, Augustine sought to reconcile the harsh realities of war with the tenets of Christian faith. His contemplations gave birth to the just war theory, a framework that has endured and evolved, shaping the ethical considerations of warfare throughout Western civilization. Augustine did not take the concept of war lightly. He recognized the inherent tragedy and sorrow it brings. Yet, he also understood that, in a world marred by sin and corruption, war might sometimes be an unfortunate necessity to uphold justice and protect the innocent. Augustine laid out stringent criteria that must be met for a war to be considered just. It must be waged by a legitimate authority, it must have a just cause, and it must be fought with the right intention. For Augustine, the legitimate authority was paramount. This authority was not merely any ruler or government, but those who uphold the moral order and the common good. War, in his view, was not to be pursued for personal gain, vengeance, or ambition, but only to rectify grave injustices or defend against significant threats. The notion of just cause further emphasized that war should only be initiated as a last resort. It should aim to re-establish peace and justice, rather than to achieve domination or subjugation. Augustine emphasized that even in the throes of war, the ultimate goal must be peace. Right intention, perhaps the most introspective of Augustine's criteria, required that those waging war continuously examine their motives, ensuring they align with the pursuit of justice and peace rather than power or revenge. This inward reflection underscored the moral weight of their actions, holding them accountable to a higher ethical standard. Augustine's reflections on just war did not end with his lifetime. His ideas were sifted and revered by later thinkers, most notably Thomas Aquinas, who expanded Augustine's theories to establish what we now recognize as the classical just war doctrine. This doctrine has found immense relevance in contemporary discussions about military ethics, guiding policymakers and military leaders in evaluating the morality of their decisions. Reflecting on modern conflicts, from the Israeli intercepting of Iranian missiles to broader geopolitical struggles, one can see Augustine's enduring influence. The principles he laid down serve as a moral compass, challenging today's leaders to consider whether their actions meet the stringent criteria of just authority, just cause, and right intention. In the intersection of ancient thought and present-day conflict, we find Augustine's wisdom continually calling us to a higher moral standard. He urges us to seek justice, to protect the innocent, and to pursue peace even amidst the tempest of war. As we ponder the complexities of our modern world, let us draw from Augustine's profound insights, allowing them to guide our understanding and actions in these tumultuous times. For in his words and thoughts, we find a timeless beacon, illuminating the pathway to justice and peace in a world all too often overshadowed by conflict and strife. In contemplating the unfolding drama between Iran, Israel, and Jordan, one cannot help but sense a reverberation of ancient prophecies echoing through the annals of history. It beckons us to ask, are these modern-day events intertwined with the prophetic visions inscribed within the Holy Scriptures? Let us delve into theological arguments that propose precisely this, that current geopolitical events may indeed be the unfolding of biblical prophecies. Firstly, we must consider the age-old predictions surrounding the nations of the Middle East. One cannot overlook passages such as Ezekiel chapters 38 to 39, which many theologians have interpreted as foretelling a great conflict involving nations that align intriguingly with modern political entities. Here, the prophet speaks of Gog and Magog and an alliance descending from the north to invade the land of Israel. Such correlations are uncanny to the regional tensions we observe today, leading some to argue that the interception of Iranian missiles could signify the prelude to these events. Next, let us turn our attention to Isaiah chapter 17, where the prophet declares the destruction of Damascus, a city central to numerous scriptural prophecies and contemporary conflicts alike. If one aligns current events with this foretelling, the interception of missiles intended, perhaps, for regions near Damascus could be construed as a part of this grand prophetic tapestry. Moreover, the words of Jesus in Matthew chapter 24 verses 6 to 8 resonate profoundly in our current context. You will hear of wars and rumors of wars. Nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. The precise synchrony of this description with today's geopolitical maneuvers is too significant to dismiss lightly. It invites a deep contemplation of whether these modern crises are but ripples in the stream of time, flowing towards the ultimate fulfillment foreseen in Scripture. Additionally, Zechariah chapter 12 verse 3 serves as a cornerstone for those who perceive modern occurrences as prophetic fulfillments. On that day, when all the nations of the earth are gathered against her, I will make Jerusalem an immovable rock for all the nations. Here lies the crux of the argument, for in witnessing an alliance between Israel and Jordan against a common threat, many see the stage being set for the ultimate confrontation that draws all eyes to Jerusalem. The theological stance supporting these interpretations does not merely rest on isolated verses but is woven through a rich tapestry of biblical narrative. Throughout the Scriptures, there is an enduring theme of divine orchestration in the affairs of nations. Daniel chapter 2 verse 21 reminds us, He changes times and seasons, he deposes kings and raises up others. This divine governance is evident in the rise and fall of empires, perceived by many as a testament to God's sovereignty over world events. Thus, the argument is clear. These present-day occurrences may very well be the manifestation of divine prophecies, unfolding as meticulously as the scriptural accounts have described. And with each new headline that echoes ancient predictions, confidence in the traditional theological perspectives on prophecy is both renewed and invigorated. Yet, amidst this perspective, it is vital to temper our interpretations with caution and humility. The prophetic scriptures, while profoundly insightful, also carry layers of meaning that unfold across the span of history, sometimes eluding immediate comprehension. Therefore, while the alignment of current events with biblical prophecies is compelling, it also calls for a balanced approach, where faith in the sovereign narrative of God coexists with the acknowledgement of our limited understanding. In the grand mosaic of divine prophecy, each moment of geopolitical significance may indeed be part of a broader, divinely orchestrated symphony, unfolding to reveal the ultimate reality foreseen by the prophets of old. Good day to all. It's a profound subject we embark on today, one that involves questioning the very fabric of traditional thought. When we talk about challenges to traditional views, especially concerning the direct correlation between modern events and biblical prophecies, we are stepping onto a field rife with scholarly debates and provocative discussions. Imagine for a moment, if you will, a wise old sage peering deeply into ancient scrolls and the distant horizon alike. Such is the scene set before us as we explore the doubts and challenges that scholars raise against conventional interpretations. The fundamental question these scholars pose is whether today's geopolitical happenings can genuinely be seen as fulfillments of biblical prophecies penned thousands of years ago. One prominent argument against this direct correlation stems from the historical critical approach. Scholars from this school of thought emphasize the need to understand biblical texts within their historical and cultural contexts. They argue that many prophecies were written with specific historical situations in mind, directly addressing the circumstances and expectations of the people at the time. This view suggests that interpreting these ancient predictions as forecasts of current events might disregard the original intent of the scriptures. Another analytical avenue pursued by scholars lies in the realm of literary criticism. Here, the focus shifts to the language, symbols, and metaphors employed in biblical prophecies. These scholars highlight the rich, often poetic, and symbolic nature of prophetic literature, advocating that such texts are not straightforward predictors of future events but rather rich, layered compositions intended to provoke reflection and moral contemplation. Such an understanding implies that seeing contemporary geopolitical events as literal fulfillments of these prophecies might be an oversimplification. Moreover, the very nature of prophecy invites rigorous scrutiny. Prophecies, by their nature, are often veiled in mystery and ambiguity. They are not always definitive proclamations but rather are filled with imagery and potential meanings. This ambiguity means they can be, and have been, interpreted in myriad ways throughout history. Scholars argue that with such a versatile tool, almost any event can be seen as a fulfillment, depending on one's perspective. Similarly, historical records show us instances where events fervently believed to be fulfillments of prophecy were later reinterpreted as times and circumstances change. The fall of Jerusalem, the rise of the Roman Empire, the various plagues and wars throughout Middle Ages, all were seen by some at the time as direct fulfillments of biblical prophecies. This historical pattern urges caution and a humble approach when interpreting current events through the lens of prophecy. Another key challenge is the phenomenon of apocalypticism. In times of great turmoil, fear, and uncertainty, apocalyptic thinking tends to surge. People naturally seek to find meaning in chaos and to secure a semblance of understanding and control over the unpredictable nature of life. Scholars argue that this inclination often drives the impulse to interpret modern events as prophetic fulfillments, which may be more reflective of human psychology than divine orchestration. The divergence between Islamic and Christian eschatology also adds layers to this debate. Different narratives about the end times between these two religious traditions complicate the effort to definitively tie contemporary events to specific biblical prophecies. What one tradition sees as fulfillment, another may not, highlighting the subjective nature of such interpretations. To sum up, diving into these scholarly debates reveals a complex tapestry of historical intent, literary symbolism, human psychology, and interreligious interpretation. It is a reminder that dogma can benefit from dialogue, that tradition can be enriched through the lens of critique, and that in our quest for understanding, humility remains our guiding light. And so, as we navigate these waters, let us keep an open mind, cherishing the wisdom of our traditions while also welcoming the insights of rigorous scholarship. In doing so, we might just glimpse a deeper truth, one that binds the ancient with the modern in ways both mysterious and divinely inspired. Thank you for joining me in this exploration. May our journey into these questions lead us to greater discernment and deeper faith. In the grand tapestry of human belief, few threads weave as vibrantly as those spun from eschatology, the study of the end times. It is a subject that, throughout the centuries, has occupied the hearts and minds of both theologians and laypeople alike. To delve into this intricate fabric, we must consider the prophetic visions of two major world religions, Christianity and Islam. Let us commence our exploration with the Christian eschatological view. Christianity foresees a climactic conclusion to the human narrative, framed by the return of Christ, an event heralded by various signs and tribulations. The nations of the world, including Israel, hold significant roles in these prophecies. Israel, in particular, is often seen as the epicenter of end-time events. The regathering of the Jewish people to their ancestral homeland is perceived by some as a fulfillment of biblical prophecy, signaling the nearing of the apocalyptic climax. In this narrative, nations like Iran and Jordan are symbolically represented within the biblical conflict between good and evil, aligning along prophetic scenarios that anticipate a great confrontation in the Middle East. The Christian scriptures speak vividly of wars, rumors of wars, and the ultimate battle of Armageddon, a convergence of nations in a final bout that precedes the establishment of God's kingdom on earth. Israel's geopolitical significance is thus magnified within this eschatological framework. The nation is seen not merely as a political entity but as a divinely ordained player in the cosmic drama. Now, let us turn to the rich eschatological traditions within Islam. Islamic eschatology, while sharing some common themes with Christianity, offers unique perspectives and details. The concept of the Mahdi, a messianic figure who will appear to restore justice and order, is central. The Mahdi, along with Jesus, Isa in Islam, who will return to assist him, is expected to lead the righteous against the forces of evil. This eschatological vision paints a picture of a final showdown, yet again placing the Middle East at the heart of these divine events. In Islamic tradition, nations such as Iran, Jordan, and others in the region are often implicated in the intricate prophecies that foretell the final days. Iran, with its significant Shia Muslim population, places great emphasis on the awaited Mahdi. The belief in his return holds profound theological and political implications, as Iran sees itself as playing a key role in these prophetic fulfillments. Jordan, situated at the crossroads of historical and prophetic narratives, also holds a unique position. It is viewed as a land tied intricately to the events leading up to the end times. Islamic prophecies frequently mention regions and nations by their ancient names, which scholars have endeavored to associate with modern countries and territories within the Middle East. Both Christian and Islamic eschatologies speak to an inevitable confrontation and a subsequent era of peace and divine rule. The overlaps and distinctions between these views highlight the profound interconnectedness of human belief and geopolitics. While Christianity envisions a restored kingdom under Christ, unifying all believers, Islam foresees a just world order ushered in by the Mahdi and Jesus. As we ponder these narratives, it becomes evident that the roles of nations like Iran, Jordan, and Israel extend beyond mere political or territorial significance. They are emblematic of deeper spiritual truths and divine purposes as interpreted by adherents of these faith traditions. Understanding these eschatological viewpoints not only enriches our comprehension of the religions themselves but also offers insight into the historical and contemporary events that shape our world. Thus, in reflecting upon the end times through the lenses of Christianity and Islam, one discerns a tapestry interlaced with both conflict and hope, a duality that mirrors the human condition itself. It is within this context that we find the enduring significance of these ancient lands and their peoples, navigating the timeless prophecies that continue to influence the spiritual and temporal realms of our existence. My dear friends, imagine with me for a moment the sands of the Middle East, ancient and timeless, where the echoes of history whisper through the ruins of civilizations long past. In these lands, the very soil is saturated with the blood and triumphs of countless generations. It is here that many a spade has unearthed treasures of immense historical and spiritual significance. Allow me to take you on a journey, as if we were riding on the wings of time itself, to the heart of these ancient discoveries. We stand at the excavation sites where archaeologists have unearthed the relics of bygone epochs, fragments of pottery, remnants of walls, and, most illuminating, inscriptions that speak to us across the ages. Consider the city of David, that ancient bastion of King David himself, a figure revered and celebrated in the annals of biblical history. Recent excavations have brought to light significant portions of this historic city, revealing the fortifications that might have witnessed the very strategies of David and his mighty men. These findings do more than tell us about bricks and stones. They paint a vivid picture of a people deeply connected to their land and their God. And let us not forget Megiddo, known to many as Armageddon, the prophesied site of the ultimate battle between good and evil. Here, the layers of ruins speak of a history punctuated by war and conflict, each stratum a testament to the biblical narrative that foretells the struggles of nations. Tablets and scrolls discovered in this region provide context to these conflicts, offering a tangible connection to the stories many hold sacred. In neighboring Jordan, the discovery of the Mesha stele, or the Moabite stone, adds another piece to this intricate mosaic of history. This basalt stone, inscribed by King Mesha of Moab, recounts a conflict with Israel that mirrors the account found in the second book of Kings. Such artifacts bridge the gap between scriptural text and historical reality, affirming the intertwining of these narratives. We must also turn our gaze towards the Dead Sea Scrolls, perhaps the most iconic discovery in the realm of biblical archaeology. These ancient manuscripts, hidden away in the caves of Qumran, include some of the oldest known copies of biblical texts. They provide unparalleled insight into the lives and beliefs of a Jewish sect living during the Second Temple period, contemporaneous with the emergence of Christianity. These scrolls remind us that the scriptures we hold dear have traversed the tumultuous corridors of history, bearing witness to the faith and devotion of those who have passed their teachings down through generations. The scrolls' meticulous preservation hints at a divine hand guiding their journey through time. Let us consider how these discoveries reshape our understanding of current events. As we examine the iron arrowheads and ancient shields pulled from the ground, we are reminded of the conflicts that once raged across these lands. They serve as a poignant reminder that today's geopolitical struggles are but the latest chapter in a long and tumultuous history of human endeavor and divine intervention. Indeed, these relics do more than tell us of past conflicts. They call us to reflect on the continuity of God's narrative through the ages. They whisper to us of a divine plan unfolding, one that transcends the individual battles and alliances of mankind. The ancient cities, once teeming with life and now silent, stand as monuments to the enduring permanence of the divine will. As we sift through the dust of history, we uncover not just the artifacts of ancient people, but the fingerprints of God working through the lives and actions of those who came before us. The broken pottery and worn inscriptions speak to us of a continuity, of a story that is still being told. In reflecting upon these finds, let us be reminded that we too are part of this ancient tale. The events of today are but a continuation of the same divine narrative that shaped the lives of those who lived in biblical times. As we face our own conflicts and seek understanding, may we do so with the wisdom gleaned from the sands of time, with hearts open to the lessons of our ancestors and the steadfast direction of the Almighty. Thus, as we stand humbled by these discoveries, gazing upon the remnants of ancient struggles, let us find solace and instruction in their silent testament. They call us to understand that in the grand tapestry of history, every thread is purposeful, every weave intentional. And in this understanding, we might find the clarity and faith to navigate the complexities of our present, ever mindful of the divine hand that wrote, and continues to write, the story of humanity. Imagine yourself standing on a battlefield littered with the debris of ancient conflicts. The echoes of swords clashing and the cries of warriors fade into the realm of history, replaced by the steady murmur of scholars in academic halls. The rigorous debate over these events never truly ceases, it merely shifts its ground. In today's academe, the historical narratives that once bore the sanctity of truth are endlessly scrutinized, compared, and often contested. Amongst the august assembly of historians and theologians, two primary perspectives jostle for preeminence, the traditional and the contemporary. The traditionalists, holding tightly to the authority of classical texts and long-standing interpretations, assert that the sacred scrolls and ancient manuscripts provide an unbroken chain of truth. Their faith is rooted in the conviction that history, as recorded by our ancestors, carries an inherent completeness, a divinely guided narrative of humanity's journey through time. On the other side, the contemporary scholars approach these hallowed documents with a skeptical eye, wielding modern methodologies and heavily armed with critical theories. They argue that history is not a static account etched in stone but a malleable and often subjective interpretation of events, shaped by the biases and limitations of those who recorded them. These scholars suggest that to truly understand our past, we must peel back the layers of accepted narratives and examine the underlying contexts. One might liken this scholarly contention to a great pendulum, swinging back and forth as new evidence and fresh perspectives come to light. In one era, the pendulum favors the traditional, and the weight of centuries-old reverence bears down upon it. Classical interpretations are lauded. The legends of King David, for instance, are taken at face value as both historical and theological truth, pointing unerringly to the divine hand in human affairs. However, as the pendulum swings to the contemporary side, it carries with it the rigors of academic scrutiny, carbon dating, archaeological digs, and cross-cultural comparisons. These tools often unsettle the firmly set stones of traditional narratives. Archaeologists uncover sites like the ancient city of Jericho and present findings that diverge from the biblical chronology. Critics argue that such discoveries necessitate a re-examination of our sacred stories, suggesting that the textual accounts might integrate myth alongside historical fact. This academic tug-of-war is not merely an esoteric exercise confined to ivory towers. It reaches deep into the way we understand our identity, our faith, and our place within the grand tapestry of history. Every debate over a discovered artifact, every reinterpretation of an ancient manuscript shapes the collective memory of civilizations. For instance, when examining the interception of Iranian missiles by Jordanian and Israeli jets, traditional perspectives might see it as a clear fulfillment of biblical prophecy, a divine interplay manifesting in our time, brimming with significance for believers. They might draw parallels with the ancient narratives of miraculous military victories attributed to divine intervention, reinforcing the notion that God's hand steers the fate of nations. Meanwhile, contemporary scholars might counter that such interpretations could arise from a confirmation bias, where current events are viewed through the lens of desired outcomes rooted in ancient texts. They may propose that geopolitics and strategic alliances are best understood through the framework of modern political science than through prophetic literature, emphasizing temporal analysis over spiritual significance. The dialogue between these two camps, traditional and contemporary, continues unabated. It demands a balance, a discernment that acknowledges the depth and richness of our historical and theological heritage while remaining open to the ever-expanding frontiers of human knowledge. As we navigate these scholarly seas, we must remember that the goal is not merely to champion one perspective over the other but to seek a fuller, more nuanced understanding of our shared past. Indeed, the pursuit of truth is a journey that requires us to hold in tension the reverence for our inherited beliefs and the curiosity of our analytical minds. As C.S. Lewis himself once mused, we may find that the light we need most to illuminate our path forward often comes from a careful consideration of both the old and the new, the sacred and the scrutinized. Amidst the chronicles of human history, one frequently encounters tales that defy ordinary explanation, accounts that resonate with the supernatural and the divine. Such are the miraculous events that punctuate the annals of time, particularly within the theater of war. These events, often laden with providential undertones, serve as beacons of hope and divine intervention amid the turmoil and chaos of conflict. Consider, for instance, the biblical story of Gideon, a judge of Israel. With but 300 men, Gideon routed the Midianite army, numbering in the tens of thousands. This victory, against overwhelming odds, was attributed not to human strategy or valor, but to the guidance and intervention of God. The story of Gideon, recounted in the book of Judges, stands as a timeless testament to how divine power can turn the tide of human events. Similarly, in more recent history, during the Six-Day War in 1967, numerous accounts have surfaced that speak of remarkable and seemingly supernatural occurrences. One such story tells of Jordanian artillery shells that inexplicably failed to detonate upon falling within Israeli territory, thus sparing countless lives. Eyewitnesses and soldiers alike described these incidents with awe, perceiving them as direct manifestations of divine protection. Fast forward to the present, and we find ourselves amidst another potentially monumental event: the interception of Iranian missiles by a coalition of Jordanian and Israeli jets. This alliance, unexpected and extraordinary, echoes the theme of divine orchestration found in past miraculous events. To consider whether these missile interceptions can be viewed in the light of miraculous military events requires both historical perspective and theological reflection. From a historical perspective, the success of this interception could be seen as a continuation of the trend where divine favor is bestowed upon certain nations at critical junctures, showcasing a higher plan at work. These moments, suffused with the inexplicable, often leave indelible marks on the collective consciousness, embedding themselves in the narratives of faith communities around the world. Theological events of this nature prompt believers to seek an understanding beyond the physical realm. The interception of these missiles might be interpreted as a sign of divine intervention, a message that, in times of peril, there is a greater power watching over and guiding the course of human affairs. For those with faith, it's a reaffirmation of God's omnipresence and His enduring involvement in the world. However, discerning the miraculous in contemporary events requires a nuanced approach. While some might readily embrace these interceptions as modern-day miracles, others may urge caution, advocating for a more measured interpretation that acknowledges both the divine and the advancements of human ingenuity and cooperation. Ultimately, the interception of Iranian missiles by Jordanian and Israeli forces can indeed be considered through the lens of miraculous military events. Whether viewed as direct acts of God or as instances where divine providence and human effort converge, such events compel us to reflect profoundly on the mysteries of faith, the course of history, and the ongoing unfolding of the divine narrative in our world. Imagine, if you will, the profound impact of a moment when Jordanian and Israeli jets unite to intercept Iranian missiles. This modern occurrence, drenched in geopolitical significance, sends ripples across the faith of countless individuals, both in the immediate region and around the world. To make sense of this in the light of our Christian faith, we must first look at the personal testimonies emerging from these lands, testifications of hope, fear, and divine intervention. Consider the story of Miriam, a Christian woman residing in Jerusalem. When the alarms blared, and the threat of incoming missiles loomed large, she gathered her children, praying fervently. "The Lord is my shield," she cried, clinging to the ancient promises found in the Psalms. When news broke that the missiles were intercepted, Miriam saw this as a direct answer to her prayers, a testament to God's protective power. For Miriam and countless others, such events are more than mere military maneuvers. They are vivid reminders of God's ever-present guardianship. From the regional microcosm, let us expand to the broader canvas. Christians worldwide watched with bated breath, their faith intertwined with the unfolding drama. Churches from Nairobi to New York held prayer vigils, seeking divine wisdom and intervention. The events in the Middle East became a catalyst, stirring believers to reflect on their understanding of prophecy and divine sovereignty. This global engagement is reminiscent of the early church, where scattered believers knit together in prayer and petition, transcending geographical boundaries. To delve deeper, we turn to respected voices within contemporary Christian thought. Dr. Hannah George, a theologian from Oxford, remarked on the symbolic significance of these events. "In the face of modern warfare, we witness timeless truths," she stated. "The interception of these missiles can be seen as a metaphor for the divine shield that guards the faithful. It encourages believers to see beyond the chaos of the present to the providence of God's overarching plan." Moreover, the impact on Christian practice is palpable. In light of these events, many churches have seen an increase in communal prayer gatherings, Bible study groups focusing on prophecy, and sermons addressing the nature of divine protection. Reverend Samuel Lee from a church in Seoul noted, "Our congregation feels a renewed sense of urgency and purpose. There is a shared understanding that what happens in the Holy Land has deep spiritual significance for all of us." However, it is essential to address the spectrum of reactions. While some find their faith bolstered, others grapple with fear and doubts. Questions arise. Why does conflict continue to plague the region? How does this fit within God's plan? These queries are not signs of weak faith but rather the honest musings of those seeking deeper understanding. It is crucial for church leaders to provide not only spiritual encouragement but also a forum for these discussions, guiding their flock with wisdom and compassion. Lastly, let us not overlook the transformative potential inherent in these moments of crisis. Just as the early church thrived amidst persecution, modern believers find solidarity and strength in the face of conflict. The church becomes a sanctuary of light amidst the darkness, a beacon guiding souls towards peace and understanding. This is not merely about surviving turbulent times but about being a testament to God's unchanging love and faithfulness. In conclusion, the interception of Iranian missiles by Jordanian and Israeli jets is more than a geopolitical event. It is a turning point for Christian faith and practice. It challenges believers to trust in divine protection, spurs global unity in prayer, and drives a deeper exploration of prophetic promises. Whether situated in the epicenter or watching from afar, Christians are called to respond with faith fortified by the certainty that, in all things, God remains our sovereign protector and guide. In an age where information travels at the speed of light and is disseminated through screens and pages across the globe, the portrayal of geopolitical events in modern media and literature takes on a form most influential. The stories we tell and the images we create have the remarkable power to shape the collective consciousness, guiding our understanding and coloring our perceptions of the world. Consider, for instance, the recent alliance between Jordanian and Israeli jets intercepting Iranian missiles, a narrative not simply confined to news reports but woven into the fabric of novels, television series, and films. These cultural representations serve not only to inform but to interpret and, at times, transform the very essence of the reality they depict. Let us first turn our gaze to the medium of literature. In the hands of a skilled novelist, such events become fodder for exploring the deeper currents of human action and divine providence. Authors may draw parallels to ancient prophecies or biblical tales, perhaps inserting a modern King David whose military acumen is matched by a deep sense of duty and faith. These literary works invite readers to ponder profound questions about destiny and morality. Are these jets merely tools of warfare, or are they instruments of a higher purpose? Meanwhile, the realm of cinema brings the immediacy of visual storytelling to contemporary audiences. A film depicting the interception of missiles transforms abstract political maneuvers into visceral, emotive experiences. The whir of jet engines, the tension in the pilot's eyes, the dramatic explosions as missiles are neutralized, all are rendered with a potency that words alone struggle to convey. Such portrayals do not merely recount events but evoke emotional responses, engendering empathy or apprehension within the hearts of viewers. Television series, too, play a crucial role in shaping public perception. Through episodic narratives, they provide a space to explore the complexities and nuances of geopolitical struggles over time. Characters become avatars for viewers, their triumphs and tribulations mirroring our own hopes and fears. An ongoing series might draw out subplots involving espionage, diplomacy, and the personal sacrifices of those involved, capturing viewers' imaginations and drawing them deeper into an understanding of the underlying issues. The influence of these media cannot be underestimated. When people see heroes and villains depicted on screen or read about them in novels, their perceptions of real-life counterparts are inevitably affected. A sympathetic portrayal of a nation or its leaders might elicit a more favorable public opinion, while a negative depiction could foster mistrust or animosity. Furthermore, modern media does more than reflect reality, it shapes it. Politicians and leaders are often acutely aware of the power of narrative and endeavor to harness it, crafting their actions to resonate with the storylines that captivate public attention. In this sense, the interplay between media representation and actual events becomes a dance, each leading and following the other in turn. To appreciate the full weight of this phenomenon, one must understand that cultural narratives are not created in a vacuum. They are the product of myriad influences, historical context, theological underpinnings, societal values, and the personal beliefs of those who create them. As such, they act as a mirror, reflecting the concerns and aspirations of their time while also guiding the future course of public discourse. In conclusion, the depiction of geopolitical events in modern media and literature wields immense power. By shaping our understanding and influencing our perceptions, these stories impact not only how we see the world but also how we act within it. May we consume these narratives with discernment, seeking always to balance the emotive power of storytelling with a thoughtful consideration of truth and justice. Let us now revisit the journey we have undertaken, dear listener, through the tangled web of current geopolitics and the timeless whispers of biblical prophecy. We endeavored to trace the sacred connections linking ancient scriptural foretellings to today's unexpected alliances and strategic maneuvers, notably between the indomitable Israeli and Jordanian jets facing the Iranian missile threat. Our discussion did not merely flit over the surface of events. We delved deeply into the historical tapestries that weave together nations and creeds, examining how the past underpins the present. Through the lens of biblical figures and their deeds, we sought parallels in modern military strategies and alliances, and found echoes of the divine narrative still resonating today. Theological reflections guided us to ponder the profound notion of divine intervention in worldly matters. We contemplated if, and how, the omnipotent touch of providence can be discerned amidst the clamor of contemporary conflicts. Such contemplations unearth layers of understanding and faith, urging us to recognize the Almighty's hand at play in the theater of human affairs. Throughout our exploration, we invoked the wisdom of notable theologians, those venerable keepers of divine insight, who illuminate our modern path with their ancient, yet ever-relevant, teachings. In doing so, we discovered both support for and challenges to the belief that biblical prophecies are materializing before our very eyes, inviting rigorous debate and thoughtful discernment. Comparative theological studies brought forth a mosaic of perspectives, particularly juxtaposing Christian and Islamic eschatologies. Through these comparisons, we gained a richer, more nuanced understanding of the roles nations like Iran, Jordan, and Israel play amidst divine and mortal narratives. In our quest for truth, scholarly and archaeological discoveries emerged as pillars underpinning our discourse, grounding our reflections in tangible evidence. These findings bridge the chasm between ancient histories and present truths, inviting us to view contemporary events through the clarifying prism of the past. We also ventured into the realm of miracles, contemplating whether today's defensive maneuvers might be seen as modern-day wonders. Such reflections encourage us to maintain our faith and seek divine guidance amidst seemingly insurmountable challenges. The impact of these escalating conflicts on global faith and personal devotion cannot be overstated. Through heartfelt testimonials and insights, we observed how these historic occurrences fortify or challenge the beliefs of individuals near and far, shaping the spiritual contours of our age. Lastly, we evaluated how modern media and literature represent these geopolitical events, and how such depictions influence public opinion and perception. This cultural mirror reflects not just the events themselves, but also our collective reaction to them, shaping the narrative for future generations. As we close this chapter of exploration, I urge you, dear listener, to engage with our community. Subscribe to our channel, like our videos, and share your own reflections in the comment sections. Your contributions are invaluable, fortifying the dialogue that enlivens our collective search for truth and understanding. Moreover, I warmly invite your feedback and suggestions for future topics. Together, let us mold an engaged and thoughtful community, ever seeking and ever growing in wisdom. Until our next discourse, may your days be blessed with deep insights and profound peace. Heavenly Father, in these tumultuous times, we come before you seeking understanding and peace. We have witnessed acts of defense that challenge our perceptions and stir our spirits. Guide us to discern your will and presence in these events. Strengthen our faith as we navigate a world filled with conflict and uncertainty. Lord, we pray for the leaders of nations, that they may seek peace and righteousness above all. Protect the innocent and provide refuge to those affected by the strife. Use these moments of tension to draw humanity closer to your love and grace. Thank you for being our rock and fortress, an ever-present help in times of trouble. May we trust in your wisdom and find solace in your word. Bless our efforts to understand and act according to your divine purpose. Help us to be peacemakers in all we do, shining your light in a world that desperately needs it. In Jesus' name, we pray. Amen.